preparing to go live? Well, welcome to another Cutting Edge show. I'm Omar Neal, former mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama, and host of the You Got the Power radio talk show. This program is being brought to you in part by the School of Public Health at the University of Maryland. We are so appreciative of this show, the Cutting Edge show, focused on all things health and wellness, COVID-19 and beyond. We are a 3-year program, something like that, with all of the iterations of our broadcasting, but we have focused on COVID-19 wellness like a laser. And so we're so appreciative to do this show each and every other Thursday now. But we started out with every Thursday doing a show. And so we have done that now for 2.5, going on 3 years. So let's get started. I mean, we got a really wonderful lineup today. We're going to be talking about lessons in the sustaining of movement, politics, public health, policy, and practice. And again, our lineup is stellar. We have David Goodman, who is an advisory board member of the Andrew Goodman Foundation. We have Cheyenne Webb Christbird, who is a civil rights activist. We have Jasmine Moore, who is a victim specialist, a service specialist at Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And we have our very own Sandra Jenkins, our owner of the a naturalist salon and certified community health worker. So we are so happy to have this conversation, and more importantly, to have it with them. Now, you all know that you see me all the time, but I don't do this by myself. I have a co-host, and his name is Dr. Stephen B. Thomas. We call him Dr. T amongst these parts. He is the professor of the University of Maryland School of Public Health and director of the Maryland Center for Health Equity. He is my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my co-host, Dr. Stephen B. Thomas. Dr. T, hey man, how you doing?
Man, Mayor, it's always good to see you, number one. And number two, I'm broadcasting live from Baltimore City.
Baltimore, Bmore.
Yeah, Bmore in the Pratt Library, where they're going to be talking about stoop stories. You know, what I want people to know out there is that the stories we come out of this pandemic with can even save more lives. I want to focus on that silver lining. You and I both know, and I love the president now. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not over. You may think it's over.
But
it ain't over with us.
I was wondering how we were
you were going to hit me with that first.
You knew I was going to do it. Are you clairvoyant or something? I don't know. I mean, because when the president says it's over with, it upset all up. Maybe we're in another universe, because I just buried a friend of mine.
There you go.
Last week.
That's right.
Of COVID, right? And we do know that, this virus is a very tricky virus. It
Yes,
ebbs and flows, right?
you go.
And it mutates and can
Right.
create another variant tomorrow, right?
That's right.
So it is a continuous, and you talked about this, Dr. T, and I think it is important to because I think maybe what the president was talking about, that maybe we moved into an endemic stage,
There you go.
right? That we have to conclude that COVID is going to be with us like the flu, right?
Okay.
And maybe he was thinking from the pandemic perspective to an endemic perspective. I'm trying to give him a little
Listen,
help.
Mayor, and you're doing a good job, which means I hope that his communication people are watching the cutting edge. Because if you look outside, if you go to the grocery store, if you get invited to a wedding, everybody's acting like it's over. But let me
Right.
say this to you and to our audience. 2+ years ago, we didn't even know this thing existed.
Hmm.
Now it's the 4th leading cause of death in the United States. Around the world, lifespans of countries have been reduced, including in our own country. It's not easy to do that, okay? So if we're going to live with it at this level of 400 to 500 people a day dying, then we have to fortify ourselves. And that's what I love about what the barbers do. Their businesses are places where people can go and get fortified, get supplies, get educated. And that's how we're going to save ourselves.
You're absolutely correct. So we need to talk about it. I mean, that's something that we wanted to talk about with how do you sustain a movement, because people get weary in well doing, right?
All right.
And you get tired of, wearing a mask and
I get it.
and you can't hug folk like you used to hug folk, and don't go over.
You can try.
You know,
See what
I
happens.
mean, we got to, man, come on. I understand why people want to be over with it.
Right.
And we talked about it before. We may be over with COVID, but
There you
COVID
go.
ain't over with us, right? And
We're
so
going to get ready.
we
Absolutely.
need to be talking about that. Man, we got some people who are behind the scenes who help us to make this thing work. We know that we are out front. People see us each and every on our show on Thursdays, but the people who are behind the scene who really make this thing work are the people who we rely on to make us look good. That team is headed up by Meg Jordan, our technical director. She's assisted by Maggie Daly, Saraya Khan, our social media and communications guru, and of course, our sound designer, Elijah Pugh Jr.
And man, without them, you and I would just be talking to each other.
That's right. I mean, that's, a lot of times people don't know it's the team behind the scene. Those are the people who really make what you do work, and it requires a team. It really does. You notice we say team, right? That's very, and there's no I in team.
I get
right? So it's us. It's all of us, and so we do appreciate our team behind the scene. Well, don't forget you can be a part of what we do in many platforms. We have all of the social media platforms covered with few exceptions. You can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. And again, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share what we're doing, because it's incredible what we do on the Cutting Edge Show. Don't forget, we also have a newsletter. You can subscribe to our newsletter. Just click on the QR code and subscribe to our newsletter. It's an incredible document that comes through your email and comes electronically. And it has the shows that we've done. So if you miss a show, you'll get it the next week on our newsletter. So you'll always have the shows, and you can archive the shows. We also do vignettes where we take snippets of our guests and we highlight different guests each and every week on our newsletter. So it's really it's a dynamic and functional document. It's a dynamic document because it's always with new information you can use.
Mayor, you just need to tell the people, if you want to stay on the cutting edge, subscribe to the newsletter. Tell your friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good way to put it, Dr. T. Well, Dr. T, man, we got a great show today, man. And we are very meticulous about the chemistry and how we bring people together and what they bring to the table. Um, a person is known by the fruit that they bear, just
Mhm.
like a tree.
All right.
And the best indicator what a person will do is what a person has done.
All right.
So let's talk about, let's bring on some of the people who we're going to talk with today. The first one is David Goodman.
Okay.
And I met David through Dr. Bernard Lafayette, a civil rights icon. He's been on the Cutting Edge show before. When you've heard of Schwerner, Goodman, and Cheney,
Yes.
3 young men who were assassinated in Mississippi. Well, Andrew Goodman was David's brother.
Wow.
One of the people who were assassinated in Mississippi. This man, David Goodman, took his pain and transferred it to purpose. He said, I'm going to take my pain. I'm going to take all of what I lost.
Yes.
And I'm going to commit my life to civil rights and to edifying and to developing people all over the world.
Wow.
And so I'm so honored to have David Goodman join us today on the Cutting Edge. Please join me and welcome me, my friend, Mr. David Goodman. Hey, man, how you doing?
Hey,
Here's how we
Mayor.
do it here, David. We snapped in. We snapped in.
We love you, man. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much for the invite. It's great honor. Dr. T, nice meeting you. By the way, I have a little thing in my throat. My wife and I, talk about COVID, in the last 2.5 years, coming up on 3, I've been very careful. We didn't get COVID until I got it last week.
Wow.
Yeah. Fortunately, I'm much better. I'm still contagious though, so it's a good thing I'm not next to you.
Yeah.
This is a virus, but our country has had viruses of all types before.
Yes.
And the worst virus is hatred, in my opinion. Meanness and hatred.
Yes.
And it's done a lot of damage for centuries and eons. And what we're seeing today and what we saw 58 years ago when my brother was murdered, and 100 years and 200 years and 300 years before that, the litany of collateral horror.
Yes.
Is part of the collateral beauty of America combined.
Okay.
And it's a spiritual journey that we all go on. And I love your concept of sustainable movement. My granddaughter, I went to visit her a month ago, my kids, and she takes me out to this cute little garden that's 10 feet by 10 feet. And she said, look at this, Grandpa. And she had a couple cherries in it. And I said, there's a lot of weeds in this garden. She said, oh, and she didn't really, she's 4 years old. She didn't really appreciate that you got to pull the weeds out. Otherwise, the fruits don't grow. So I tried to explain that to her, but it's very complicated for a 4. She just wanted to pull the little cherry tomatoes off and pop them in her mouth. And a garden doesn't grow without a lot of work and sustained work. And that's a metaphor in my life, because I've always been around gardens and growing things. And we have a huge garden, my wife and I, in our home. And we got watermelon, cantaloupes, which take forever to grow. You can't, and strawberries, and you can't grow the strawberries, pick them in June or July and come back the next May and look for them, because they'll be overgrown. They'll be gone. And you need a sustained infrastructure to take care of your garden. Otherwise, the viruses, the weeds, all the bad things come in and eat you alive. And that's how I view democracy and movements. It's just forever, and it's relentless. I mean, 58 years have gone by since John Lewis recruited my brother and 1,000 other people to Freedom Summer 1964 into Mississippi to register African Americans to vote. And on the first day, which was a Sunday, before all the volunteers came down, Schwerner and Cheney, who were paid organizers, got my brother as a volunteer to investigate a church that was burnt out near Meridian, Mississippi, on the border with Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother's a New Yorker. I don't think he's ever been to Mississippi. He was 20, I was 17, 3 years younger. And the Klan were looking for Schwerner. They hated that guy for many reasons, for obvious reasons, but he was also a Jew.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ku Klux Klan thought that the Jews were all communists, and their whole thing in life was to upset the white people and organize the black people and make trouble for them. I mean,
Wow.
This is all documented in books and the FBI files, and they just thought the Jews were the core, the source of all the problems. I mean, like QAnon theory. And anyway,
Mm-hmm.
they nabbed these guys. They send the cops after the sheriff finds them at 4 PM at a stoplight, arrested the 3 of them for speeding. Okay. Put him in jail at 4, let him out at 10 o'clock at night. And then the Klan was ready to nab him, and they murdered him and threw him in a dam. They were missing for 44 days. Anyway, you know the story, but what murdered him was a virus called hate.
A virus called hate.
Hate. Yeah.
A
That's
virus
deep.
called hate.
That's deep. And the way that you put that, David, is like incredible. To use the metaphors and the correlation and parallel between what you experienced with losing your brother and to see that it's still here. And I think that's the challenge is to out of all of the sacrifice,
Yes.
even death that people have made, and still we're revisiting, sometimes at the same level, if not greater, the same thing that happened before. And so the question is, how do you deal with viruses? Is this endemic? As we talked about a pandemic, is this endemic to America as you see it, David, now?
Well, I wanna believe, maybe intellectually this isn't true, but emotionally I want to believe that it's a small group of people, but the virus is very big and it affects everybody. Sometimes worse, sometimes more than others, and some people, some places, So you got to be aware that it exists, put your mask on, protect yourself from it, and then work very hard to protect the community and other people by constantly working to get to the core of issues and pick an issue. You can't do everything. You can't boil the ocean. You got to boil your pot of water with your friends, family, and community, and deal with the problems. Our thing in our family, the Andrew Goodman Foundation, is a big national platform, and we focus on voting rights. So that part of the virus.
Okay.
To the extent it's a virus, and it is. And it's coming back.
Amazing. With a vengeance.
Oh,
A vengeance.
absolutely.
And so we're at 100 campuses in 26 states.
Okay.
So our sustained movement for the last 68 years has been to our mission is making young voices and votes a powerful force in democracy. And that the why of what we do is to make sure democracy works, because that garden of democracy got
Yes.
weeds growing in it all the time. You got to be pulling them out all the
Mhm.
time, pulling them out. And you got to know the difference between a weed and a tomato plant. And
So you don't pull out the wrong one.
you don't want to pull out the wrong one.
You know, David, this is the first time I've had a chance to meet you, and it's absolutely delightful. I want to tell you something about the mayor. He's always telling us academics, put it where the cows can get it. And I'm telling you, your metaphors got us all munching down there. Figuring out the weeds. Thank you so very much. We need good metaphors to keep people focused
Yeah,
on the job at hand.
I'll never will forget it. I promise you that. Thanks so much. You know, we have a person. Let me tell you something. We go back so long. I don't know when I first met Cheyenne Webb Kreisberg. She is a dear friend of mine. I know we were in college together, but I knew about her before that. The Edmund Pettus Bridge is a famous bridge. We heard of Bloody Sunday, and it was this little girl that everybody knew and saw. In fact, that she has pictures with she and Dr. Martin Luther King talking. She was a very inquisitive, a very engaging young lady. But she was on that bridge and on Bloody Sunday. And when things got bad and people started running, a person by the name of Hosea Williams picked her up, and he was running with her because she was the youngest person on the bridge. She was the youngest person on the bridge. And so she picked her up, and he was running. And then she looked at him and she said, you put me down, you running too slow. That has gone around the world. She has a movie made after her. She has books. She is an organizer of young people in character development.
I love that.
She has stayed focused on it from the time that she started to the present day, this present age.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my dear friend, Miss Cheyenne Webb Kreisberg.
How about some snaps? David, you got to snap with us.
How you doing? Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, friend. I'm doing so good, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity again. I'm gonna tell you, as I listened to you, David, it was just like many chords were going through my body. And I'm gonna tell you the metaphors that you spoke about is so critical now when we talk about movement, when we talk about change, when we talk about developing movements. And certainly we all know, again, that this virus has to create an environment for a movement for change. And it's not the easiest thing to do. And we have realized over the years through our sufferings, through our pain, that nothing good in terms of the good missions that we all want to accomplish, it never comes easy. It comes with a struggle. Mm-hmm. And I can go back to that struggle when we talk about this virus, when we talk about a movement. I can really reflect and relate to that because it was when I was that little girl growing up in Selma, Alabama, in the Selma Civil Rights Movement. After having met Dr. Martin Luther King, the late Congressman John Lewis Hall, all of them, I met them as a child. And my life started changing without me really even knowing. But what truly made the significant difference for me in that movement was that I was there. There was continuity. Even though I was a young child, 8 years old, growing up in that movement, Dr. Cooper, it didn't take me long to understand the difference between right and wrong, black and white, because we already were dealing with that. So when I used to go out in the community, David, with those freedom fighters who had come to Selma to join in that movement. And initially, it wasn't a lot of people. Omar Mayor, it just wasn't a lot of people. You know, it took time for the numbers to grow.
Right.
But when I used to be that disobedient child and go and
disobedient.
very
Yes.
my parents, they really couldn't do anything with me. And because I had a made up mind, when you're in the midst of people like that, when you're in the midst of people who gravitates your mind, gravitates your soul, you know, during that time, my soul was gravitated by Dr. King. He became Santa Claus to me.
Absolutely.
When he would come to town. But in short, the bottom line is, just with me being in the midst of following those courageous people who came to Selma to join in that movement for change, it was a process. And then when I would follow them, when they would knock on doors to try to get African Americans to understand and to educate them, many of them were afraid because it was risky in many ways. So right now, when we look at this COVID virus,
yes,
when we look at this COVID virus, even though people have gotten comfortable with it, you really have to have that stick-to-itness. This movement, you have to have that stick-to-itness for any change to make it a sustainable movement. And the thing about it, when I look at all of the people across this country who are really trying to make an impact and continue to educate people with this movement, with the virus, you have to have a passion. Right. You have to have that courage that we used to have back in the 60s. Really, you really do, because it's not easy trying to convince people, because you got to be strategic. And one thing that I learned about movement, is that you have to have strategies.
Okay.
You have to be organized. You have to be creative. And in this movement with this virus, that's the mindset that we all have to have when we are trying to educate, when we are trying to convince people, the young, the old. We got to have some strategies. But let me tell you something about it, because I'm out here working with teams of people just like you are, trying to continue to educate, continue to develop this movement with young folks and the elderly. But let me tell you one thing that's very critical that I found out, and it relates to the movement in the 60s. Let me tell you something. We've got to be able to connect with people in a way to not only listen to their stories, because everyone has been impacted by COVID. Whether not COVID or not, everybody was impacted, losing friends and loved ones, and mentally we've been impacted. Some folks don't think they were, but we all been impacted.
Yes.
So that one of the most effective ways that we can be creative is to listen to people's stories. We got to listen, because everybody got a story about COVID. And we got to be able to tell our stories as well. We can't just talk to them. We got to tell our stories too, because sometimes people think they're the only ones, and because we are trying to convince and trying to educate, we got to be able to sit down and listen to their stories and then tell our stories so they can relate. And then it's something positive that's going to come out of that. And when you are able to listen to people and they are lifting their voices, that's a relief in one way with this movement. And the other thing that David talked about was that spiritual guidance. There's no way you can be effective with this virus movement without spiritual guidance to a great degree. You got to have that on the inside. And spiritual guidance connects with people's skills. Isn't that right, Dr. Cooper? You got to be able to know how to connect with different people from different walks of life. Young folks, it's a different type of presentation. Older people, it's a different type of presentation. Middle-aged people. And when we look at trying to encourage people to go out to vote, because that's another movement we still be serious about, because we need that activated and moving more now than ever. So we got to continue to use our creative mind. We got to use the strategies, but most of all the people on the team, they got to understand really what the mission is, and they got to be educated on this COVID virus movement.
Hey, you know, man.
You know what? I'm telling you. I'm gonna pass. Hold up, Cheyenne. Webb Christberg. I'm gonna pass the plate around. I promise you.
Okay, pass the plate around. man.
She dropped the mic, man. That's what you call dropping the mic.
And the stream, unbroken, right. She's describing the very elements of the movement we brought together with the barbers and stylists.
Absolutely, yeah.
Training them, strategies.
Right. And you know, there's much correlation and parallel in terms of what's happening with COVID, and that's why we're doing this show, because we can take lessons from what you are doing and employ them into the movement to sustain our lives through this COVID pandemic, endemic, epidemic, whatever demic you want to call it.
We know what
works.
Thanks so much. We got out there. Who else we got out there?
We got my new best friend.
Okay.
Jasmine Moore, Miss Jasmine Moore. Let me tell you something. I was doing a thing that was focusing on COVID. And I met this young lady at Tuskegee Municipal Complex. She was there representing her organization. And it was a spirit, Dr. T, we are spirits having a human experience, not humans having a spiritual experience. Right? You know what I mean? And so it was her spirit that just had a gravitational pull. So I went over and I talked with her, and I knew then from the moment that I talked to her that there was something very special about this young lady. She's a victims services specialist at Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And, and she's truly an advocate. She believes in what she is doing. And again, if you notice that there's a theme that goes through each of our guests this evening. Each of them have had something that calls for them to be committed to the cause by which they espouse. Well, she lost a dear friend to drunk driving very early. And so that fueled her passion to make sure that nobody else has to experience what she experienced. And the more I think about it, we all get in our cars, we all move places, and we know that there's so many people who never make it home.
That's right.
Because of some person who was drunk, and because of that, they kill somebody else and even themselves. And so I'm so happy to welcome my new best friend, Jasmine Moore. Hey, how you doing?
Snaps for
Hello.
Good. Let's give us some snaps, man.
Cheyenne, a few snaps.
Tell them a little bit. I gave them a little snippet on you, but just tell them a little bit about yourself, Jasmine.
Yes, first and foremost, thank you all so much for having me. Just a little bit about me. I am a victim services specialist for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Prior to coming to this organization, I worked full-time at a child advocacy center. So again, my role there was to advocate for child victims who've been, victims of abuse, all types of abuse. Prior to that, I worked at Muskogee County Defects, again, being an advocate for children and families, just to, advocate for them to make sure that they have the best life possible, because every child deserves that. So again, my purpose, I know for sure, is to help individuals in any and every capacity that I'm able to do. And that's just what brings me joy. But in order to do that, first and foremost, I have to make sure that I myself am well, and that I'm very well much taken care of in order to assist those individuals in need. And it's a rewarding job all the way through. You just have to definitely have a passion for that and be committed to that, to the mission overall.
You know, there's a saying that people are bleeding while leading. And a lot of times people who are advocates, a lot of times, and so I'm so glad that Jasmine, you made that point, that you have to take care of yourself. You know, when you are flying on a plane and the flight attendants say, you know, now in the case this plane get ready to go down, they don't say it like that, but that's what they mean. They say,
Yes.
they say this mask gonna come down. And they say, put the mask on yourself first.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Then help somebody else, right? Then help somebody
Absolutely.
else. Then help somebody else. So you can't teach what you don't know, and you can't lead where you don't go, right? And so it's important that we take care of ourselves. So I'm so glad that you talked about that, because you can't sustain the movement if you are not healthy. And I'm talking about
Absolutely.
not just physically healthy, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You have to be healthy too, and you need to be conscious of that. And so that's very, very, very powerful.
You know, Mayor,
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for bringing new friends to me in our Hollywood squares. And Jasmine, I'm gonna just be perfectly honest with you, being someone who's been in public health all my career. When you say the word Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the first image that comes to mind is not an African-American woman like you. And I'm saying, I may not be the only one out here that's now hearing you, because that organization is amazing. And of course,
Yes, sir.
people have died regardless of race in driving accidents. I'm just so glad you're there and that you can help more people of color support Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
that's very true, Dr. T. And that's that. And so we gonna have a conversation. Jasmine Moore, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
We're getting ready to get into this thing. You know, I do this introduction and things, but we got a whole lot of folk involved in this. So we gonna get going.
All right, we got a well.
Hey, she's our own. They have this thing say she needs no introduction, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome our very own, the owner of Naturalist Salon and a certified community health worker, a part of the cutting edge team, ladies and gentlemen, Sandra Jenkins. Give us some snaps.
Billy, come on, let's snap her in. Let's snap her in. Come on.
Hey, I'm so glad to have you as a panelist, and we're going to make sure that all of our, warriors are going to be here. Because it's important that we hear all voices. And I think that was what Cheyenne Webb Kreisberg said, that we need to hear stories. We need to hear voices, and everybody has a story, and everybody has a voice, and everybody can contribute to the solution, because we all are possessors of some truth. And as we bring our truths together, then and only then do we get closer to the truth. And so thank you for joining with us. You are dealing with hair, but you also deal with voting too, right? Let's talk about the hair just a little bit. Tell them about who you are and where you are. And then let's talk about what you're doing now, not only with COVID and the community health worker, you're certified at that, Did you hear what I've just said? She's certified, right? But she's also dealing with voting. She's a very engaged person. So let's talk a little bit about that, Ms. Jenkins.
First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone here. If I could round all of you up and put my arms around you, I will do such. So I thank you so all very much. And my fellow comrades, you guys, you mean the world to me. You honestly do.
Absolutely.
And this is a wonderful, wonderful effort to be able to spread the news across the globe. So thank you so much, Dr. Thomas and Mayor Neal, for all that you do. I'm Sandra Jenkins, and I'm the owner of Naturalist Studio Hair Salon. I've been in business for beyond 30 years, and I consider myself a veteran, but a veteran that is keeping on and keeping on. You know, in the industry, it takes a lot of energy and effort to put your skill behind the chair. And that means seeing various of people, different people. It really doesn't matter who sits in your chair, as Mrs. Webb was saying, not to really make it a concern of the person who is in your chair, the color of their skin, the texture of their hair, the life they live, the economic status that they are. You're there to perform a service and make them beautiful. So that is what I do. And beyond that, and with the whole just behind the political arena, Naturalist became that location. That location was because there was a candidate that really mattered in our community. And I wanted to really get him elected. So therefore, we made our location into a place where people gathered and people were able to socialize. And that was when our very own Barack Obama was running for president. So it worked out. It did.
I'm getting happy this morning.
Get some snaps in.
Yes,
We can do it.
Oh yeah, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
And that is
Absolutely.
still the slogan that we use today. However, we are right now in the midst of a very crucial election midterm, and we're just 47 days away of election day. And you know, it's very critical that we are the voices that really share this amongst our clientele. Our clientele are going through some of the crazy circumstances that we could relate to, and we're afraid sometimes to really express our inner soul and really talk about what really matters to us. And this is the time to do such, because we all really are in this together. So therefore, we have to really be cognizant of the fact that we exercise the best practices when those clients come into our salon. And as Mr. Goodman has stated, the importance of sustainability. Sustainability is all woven into the fact of caring for your client, really, really enforcing them to wear their masks, you know, keeping your salon in compliance. All those things people see, new clients see these things. This brings in new business. And as I would say to our industry, in which we have suffered so much during the pandemic, as being identified as non-essential businesses. That was so difficult. We are important. We are essential. We have to demonstrate that. And when we do, good things come from that. This is a matter of urgency. This is a matter of urgency, and we really have to step out on faith and do what we do, and that is to care for our clients. And you know, that is really a means of community, and community brings in more clients, and therefore we could really talk about what really sustains us from there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just perfect way to kind of synthesize all of these messages. And you always have a way of going back to something and making it relevant to what you're saying. You got the power. I'm telling you.
You know, if it was a choir, we had a nice little solo there.
Yeah, right.
Perfect pitch.
Perfect pitch. Yeah.
Hey, man, we need to find out what's going on out there.
Well, yeah, we do need to do that. Let me do this, because I want to make sure that we have all of our forces back there. Let's do the public health minute first, and then we're going to get a pulse. And then while we're getting the pulse, we're going to come with different people, because we got a whole lot of folk out there that we want to bring into the conversation. So let's do our public health minute with Meg Jordan. Let's get that out of the way so she can help in the back when we do our word cloud. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to run the numbers for you tonight. So right now, in the past 2 years, we have had 95.6 million cases of COVID-19 in the US. 1,049,000 people have died in the US from COVID. 224 million Americans have gotten their initial first couple doses of COVID-19 vaccine. That's around 66%. So we're still at 2/3. And 109 million people have gotten their boosters. So you can see that's about half of people who got vaccinated. Next, please, Maggie. Okay, this is where the COVID community levels are this week. So as you can see, it's a lot better than it was 2 weeks ago. But take a look, and if you are living in an area that is yellow, people who are at high risk for COVID need to consider masking in all indoor spaces and increasing the testing for people who are coming into and sharing air with them, right? If you're living in an area that is orange right now, you need to consider putting your mask back on in all indoor spaces. Everyone does. And again, testing when you feel sick, having a plan for COVID, calling your doctor to know whether or not you can get those medications that can make COVID-19 less severe. So take care out there, folks.
Thanks, Meg. Meg Jordan, our technical director and the person who does our public health.
There you go.
Give us some snaps. Thanks
There
so
you
much.
go.
Absolutely.
And now you know what you need to do your COVID calculus.
Absolutely. You know,
I'm
the
here
point
in
of the matter is,
a public space, and look, Mayor,
I got you.
my
You know,
mask ready.
you keep and that's important. You know, people need to know. You know, David did a whole 2.5 years without getting COVID in his way, right? I mean, they were but it can happen to anyone. And I tell you this, if you've not gotten COVID, you could very well be next, right? You see what I'm
You let
saying?
down your guard.
I have gotten COVID, right? And so everybody can get it. Don't think you can't not get it. And there are people saying, well, you know, you get it, it's okay, everything. You have long haul COVID too. There
Man.
are situations where people are still having the adverse impact of COVID on them. Do not take this lightly. And I
Right.
don't care what anybody says at any level.
Right.
Right. Do not take this lightly. You need to be looking at what's the virus in your community, obviously. But you need to take care of yourself and be conscious of where you are. And as Dr. T say, know who you sharing your air with.
There you go. And we can help you even make the air cleaner. Hey, Mayor,
Absolutely.
let's get a pulse beat out there.
Oh, absolutely. Tell them about, let's do the word cloud. You tell them how to do the word cloud. And then when we do that, and while we're doing the word cloud, Dr. Cooper, get ready. I want to bring up Dynamite Mike. Get ready. Katrina, I saw her. Get ready.
We got Dorothy out
Andre,
there
get
with
ready.
$5.
We got Dorothy out there. Get ready. Everybody, get ready. Okay.
So here's what you do. Use the chat. And for those of you out there in the Facebook land and social media, you can use the Q&A box. Think of a word right now that best reflects how you're feeling right now at this moment in the pandemic. And for the next 60 plus seconds, put in as many words one at a time that you can, and just let it roll. And we'll have a conversation while this is going on, but you're going to keep putting words in. Don't worry about spelling. Our crew behind the scenes pull that up.
They good at they real
roll.
good at spellers. They spell check, right?
Now let me say something, Mayor. This panel, you would think that they practiced. You would think that they had worked together before. The harmony of the stories of how do you sustain a movement, where the passion comes from, it's just quite amazing. And I want our warriors to know that's the path we're on.
Right.
This is nothing to take lightly. And those of you who made it through the pandemic and you still have businesses, you are the survivors. And we're going to try to help you thrive with your communities living better.
Dr. T, I thought about this, and I want to say this before we bring up, I want to bring Dr. Cooper up, but let me say this, and as it relates to public health and its intersection in terms of keeping people safe, not only from pandemics, from other things. And Jasmine, I do know that recently they're talking about putting apparatus in cars that you have to blow into before you can crank your car up. Now, and I thought that was far-fetched, but right now I can't use my phone unless I tell my phone I'm not driving.
That's right.
Right.
An engineering solution.
Yes.
Right. And so what it tell me, because drunk driving is really getting to be it's been bad, but it's getting worse. And particularly when people are sedating the pain because of depression and a lot of other things. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening in your space as it relates to public health, because it's integrated, interrelated, and interdependent.
So first and foremost, drunk and or drug driving is 100% preventable. That is a choice to drink and drive and to get behind that wheel and, go off, although you think 1 or 2 drinks is just fine. However, that's unacceptable. It causes you to, again, not only cause yourself harm, but also hurt others in the realm of that as well. Whatever you can do to prevent that, which would be to have a sober driver drive you around after you've had a few drinks, or not to drink at all, or find
Would
other
you call that a
means.
designated driver? That's what they call it?
A designated driver, correct. Or even do ride share. You have Uber, you have Lyft, you have all these other organizations that will assist you getting to where you need to go. So again, it's 100% preventable. And as you stated, the numbers are rising each and every day. And we do have new features out where they're putting, again, apparatuses in your car to test you to see what your drinking limit is. So you won't get behind the wheel of that vehicle drunk or under the influence of anything. Again, not only to harm yourself, but others in your path. So which I think is a really good feature. And again, on our phones as well, we also have those features that allow us, when you're driving, it'll say, do not, disturb because you're driving, or things of that nature. Again, to cut those numbers down, which is very important.
Jasmine,
go ahead, Dr. T. Go ahead.
Jasmine, as I'm hearing her just give out all this knowledge that's so important, it's going to make people think twice. I'm thinking back to all the folks who've lost someone to a drunk driving accident or tragedy, but they don't get involved in the advocacy. Just take a little step about how you made that transition to actually become involved in an organization and give your time to it.
Like I said, I know my purpose is to help others, and I definitely wanted to step outside the realm of helping others as far as child victims. And because I was impacted years ago, I was like, I really need to do a 180 and find another way in which I can give back to, not only my small community around, where I live, but society as a whole. And that was one of them. And especially, people my age, they're so amped to, drink and drive, text and drive, as well as being under the influence of anything else. And I thought that just was really important to advocate in another capacity.
Good.
Hey, Mayor, I'm going to step away and do my porch talk, and I'll be right back because I'm going to be telling the story of what we're doing right here.
Absolutely. Well, I got this, Dr. T. Thank you so very much. Dr. T is multitasking, and when we do this each and every time. Let's bring Dr. Sharon Cooper up, and Dynamite, and I saw Katrina. I hope she's somewhere we can bring her up as well. Hey, Dr. Cooper, how are you doing?
Good evening, everyone. I am doing well. All is well.
Good. This conversation about how do you sustain the movement? I think that's really apropos now because, again, people get weary and well doing. Fannie Lou Hamer say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so when people let their guard down, and if you notice, and I was thinking about Jasmine as she was talking, that most of your accidents have occur closest to your home when you let your guard down, right? That's
Yeah,
when you
correct.
normally have accidents. And so we need to sustain the movement so that we can sustain life. And you are doing some incredible work with us. When we say we bring up Dr. Cooper and people like that, Ms. Jenkins and all that, we these are our family members. I mean, we literally have been a part of this for a long time. So tell them a little bit about yourself, just a snippet, and what's your thought on how do we sustain this movement?
Sure. Before I get started, I would just like to say thank you so much for the wonderful contributions of Mrs. Webb Berg and Mr. Goodman. You've made many sacrifices, both yourselves and your family. You've made tremendous contributions to social justice, and you have created a path for us to be able, and a foundation for us to be able to move forward and build upon. So thank you so very much. A little bit about myself. I work at the University of Maryland. My career has spanned over 30 years in the area of public health, social justice, criminal justice, women's health. And most recently, I've had the privilege of working with Dr. Thomas, along with the Hair Warriors such as Katrina and Michael and Freddie locally, and becoming community health workers and advancing those initiatives to close those disparity gaps that were created and amplified by COVID-19 pandemic in our community. Getting to the question as far as sustainability, I fully agree with Mrs. Webb Christopher. Community engagement, coordinated as well as collaborative efforts, strategies to keep people engaged, involving marginalized communities and vulnerable communities in the decision-making process. Those are all critical in order to not only, effect change, but to build resilient, sustainable communities.
Yeah.
And it goes across with what we talked about, not only public service arenas, but getting the private sector involved and advancing those public-private partnerships to effect that change and make it sustainable. And so everyone can mutually benefit.
You're absolutely right. Thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. Mike Dynamite Brown, my man. Brother,
hey, man,
brother from another mother. Man, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Man, I'm supersonic. Everything is copacetic.
That's awesome.
Good. Talk. You are. I appreciate. Well, one is I want to tell people he's a barber's barber. His brother has been doing this for a long time in the DC area.
Over 30 years.
Over 30 years. So he, man, I have learned to appreciate at a much greater level what barbers mean to the community. I didn't know historically that barbers were the first doctors, basically, and that the health system was centered around barbers, right? And so we kind of come full circle in terms of our thoughts about, how barbers can contribute to the increasing, barbers and stylists, obviously, to increase to the uplift of health in the community, but also the trusted information centers, right? We trust, if any one thing that's obvious, you got to trust your barber and you got to trust your stylist, because if you come out with your head jacked up, you got to, at least for a minute, you got to live with that, right? So there is an automatic trust that's involved with that. So let's talk a little bit about rates, the relationship between you and your clients. How do you keep going? How do you keep sustaining it? How do you keep moving when people say, "Hey, Mike, leave that alone, man. Just cut my hair. I ain't coming here for all that." You know what I mean? How do you keep moving?
Absolutely. So I came in like a couple minutes late, but I was able to catch David Goodman's, the historian. His gardening metaphor is just everything right now for what I'm about to say, because when you're starting to garden or do anything, you have to toil the ground first. So you have to that little spike thing and break the ground up. So that's me trying to relay the information here that I get from you guys who are very well educated and know what needs to be done to get movements created and for everyone to move. But when you're the trusted source and you've been one of them and you think differently from them, toiling, that toiling, sometimes you move the ground a little bit that you're toiling on and you're planting your seeds. And when you move the ground, it's cement. So your seeds are planting on cement and they're not taking root and growing from the ground to get the movement for the people that we need. So when I'm coming to them, in your community, in my community, the community you serve in, their attitudes can be totally different than what we're all talking about right now. So it's difficult for me to plant the information into my community when I'm asking them to trust a system that has failed them all their life. And when I get in front of them, I feel like they put me on the cross, and I'm just trying to relay the good information, but they turn on you when they're not educated. And the lack of education, is you're going to perish. That's scriptural. So it gets very frustrating to me when I'm coming forth with the great information to make a change in their lives, even though they could come from a situation of poverty and didn't have and may have needed the state or needed somebody to help them out and they didn't get the help. And I'm saying I'm coming with the information from the same people that turned them away. It kind of makes me look like a villain, but I stand firm in that because I know what I'm saying is right. And not folding when everyone is against you on, I'm not doing that, Mike. No, they done brainwashed you. You done became Uncle Tom. I mean, they talk about you bad. I can't even talk like how they talk, but I know what I know and I stand firm in it. And recharging with you guys, and it's just a reiteration to my spirit that I am doing the right thing. And it makes me get to a point where I say I can't save everyone. So I have to continue to plant the seeds that come from my mouth into fertile ground, and everybody's ground is not fertile. And I have to take it as such, and I'm gonna leave it at that because other people need to talk. I can go on for the rest of the story, rest of the show.
Man, I'm so glad, man. Man, we just love you so much, Mike. We love your spirit, man, and we love your tenacity and your stick-to-itiveness, man, and just your honesty, just that authenticity, brother, man. Thank you. It exudes from you. And that's not hyperbole. That's how I feel about you. So
absolutely.
So it's powerful.
Oh, and I want to add one more thing. I have a group that we go to, at least we try to go to Alabama every year to walk across the Pettus Bridge, and we added Mayor Neal into it. And when we went down, he showed us hospitality and he gave us the tour of the Tuskegee University. We saw the Booker T. Washington. We saw everything. So it's just awesome to talk about it and look back on my past and know that I've been there and met him there in his hometown, and he met us and showed us the most hospitality ever. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, man. Love you. And you have an open invitation. You're always welcome. The doormat, welcome doormat is always.
Thank you so much.
Good. Let's bring up Katrina Randolph. Katrina has been one of the people who've been with us from the beginning. She has been steadfast, unmovable, always abounding, in what we're doing. And so we are so appreciative of her in the work that she does. Dr. T has a thing that says she's the short hair queen, meaning that it doesn't matter, you can have one strand, she can figure out how to make it look good. I mean, that's her thing, so You know, I'm just telling you. So I'm so happy to have you here. She has been highlighted on national and international news for the work that she's doing with COVID. We are so appreciative of what you do, Ms. Katrina Randolph, both seen and unseen. So thank you for the work that you do as well. Tell them a little bit about you, where you are, and what you do, and you know, again, another community health worker. I mean, we got people who are in the trenches doing this. Mike, to all of you know, in the trenches. Go ahead, Katrina.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. It's always a pleasure. Hello, everyone. My name is Katrina Randolph. I'm the owner of Trey Shades Hair Studio in Capitol Heights, Maryland. I'm also a certified community health worker through the state of Maryland. And I'm also part of this amazing hair network that y'all hear so much about in these wellness warriors. So thank you for the opportunity to be on this Zoom tonight. I wanted to first thank Ms. Jasmine for her advocacy. And one of the reasons why is because I just lost my brother in January. He was walking down the street, got hit by a drunk driver and lost his life. And I also have two girlfriends that lost their daughters in car accidents to drunk drivers, and they were younger than 21. So I really, truly appreciate the advocacy of what you're doing, Jasmine. Hopefully one day we can start an advocacy group right here in Maryland for mothers against drunk driving, because it's so serious when it comes to these children losing their lives to drunk drivers. So thank you for all that you do. In regards to the movement, Dr. Neal, this week was an amazing movement in the Hair Network. From us going over to the Shop Spa doing our health fair, about 100 people got their blood pressure screening, and it was amazing to see the different people from the different walks of life, because some of them were homeless, some of them were substance abuse users, some of them couldn't read, some of them could barely put information into a computer. But what I loved about that movement on last Saturday was it was so much unity, it was so much love, it was so much support, it was so much teamwork, and all people coming from all walks of life, they felt no judgment. All they felt was a sense of love and compassion for them. So that was one thing about this amazing movement that we're doing. And then we did another event in Be More on that following Monday. That was amazing, seeing the barbers and stylists come together and be unified as one, just meeting for the very first time, because we all shared the same passion, but yet we had all one common goal. And that's what I truly, truly love. So I believe the movement of our network is amazing. Being a stylist and having a movement behind my chair is amazing too, because I believe that when you have a passion and you can relate to people from all walks of life, and help them change their lives and make great decisions, whether it's a health decision, a decision to advocate for them for something that they don't even realize that they qualify for. It's always an amazing movement to share that love and bring it back to the community. So I'm forever honored to be a part of such an amazing movement.
We love you, and we appreciate you so very much, more than words can express. Dorothy Reynolds, let's go to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, all the way to Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Let's give us some snaps. And hey, hi, Miss Dorothy Reynolds, how are you doing, ma'am? You need to unmute for me.
Okay, I'm doing fine, and I've missed you all.
Yeah, we miss you too.
I had to go on vacation for a little while, and I went to Chicago. And Andre, again, one of my husband's relatives went through your shop, and they showed me some paperwork that you had that they got in your shop in the Atlanta airport. But we have been busy in Pine Bluff. Before I left, we conducted our community health dialogue in the barbershop side. And we have a beauty and barber side and a strictly barbershop side. And we had some interesting conversations. Some people felt that they didn't have to wear the mask, even though we could still ask people to wear masks. And some didn't feel we needed to sanitize and spray around them because the virus, according to them, is gone. But the barbers did a good job of explaining to them because they have been told after 5 days that they were free to move about, that they didn't have to be precautious. So they learned a lot. The customers learned a lot from the barbers, and I enjoyed seeing them feel so free to talk about it. The city of Pine Bluff gave us these packets that had sanitizer, hand soap, wet wipes, gloves, and I mean, an array of supplies to give to people as they came in. So we were thankful for them. And I guess my passion for this whole movement, and thank you all for the presenters for giving us such good word of knowledge. I really appreciate that. But my passion comes from losing my brother-in-law, who was developmentally delayed, and he could not speak for himself. We couldn't speak for him because they weren't allowing us in the hospital at that time. And it was just really crushing to know that he was in that hospital and there's nothing we could do to help him. So when this opportunity came along to help someone else, I jumped on it because I just don't want to see anyone else have to go through what we went through. Babies, older people, and the handicapped. My heart goes out to them, especially.
Thank you so much. And what I want to do is before Miss Cheyenne Webb Kreisberg leave, I want to thank her. She had another engagement, so she wanted to make sure that she spent time with us. But we want to thank you for spending time with us. We know that time is the most valuable thing that we have because that is our life.
Right.
And so to come and to spend time with us, and every time I call Cheyenne Webb Kreisberg, she's always available to whenever she is. And even when she has conflict, she tries to find a way to accommodate me. So I want to thank you for coming and joining with us on The Cutting Edge. And you are always welcome to hang out with us, my friend.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I certainly have enjoyed it so much. And it's so good seeing all of you that's continuing the fight.
Thank you so much. All right. Let's bring up, let's give us some snaps. Hold up. Let's give us some snaps as she get ready to go to show us some love. Let's bring up Andre and Tracy. Let's get with you, get ready for you. Andre, how things are going, man?
Things are going great, and I'm happy to be here. This has been a motivational meeting, and we have covered from crossing the bridge to mad mothers against drunk drivers. You can't get any more spread out talking about sustainability within this text that we went through tonight.
Yeah. Tell them a little bit about yourself, Andre. You know, we heard Dorothy talk about your shop. I'll say it because I know you're a little modest sometimes, but Andre has a shop in the busiest airport in the world, the Atlanta airport.
Yeah, he's even been there.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you know, but that's important. So this thing, Andre, is about how do you keep a movement going? Because you can start something, you know, and then people kind of peter out and they move on to something else. But how do you keep people focused? I think that's the conversation that we're having today. And what's your take on that?
Well, the thing about I'll continue to use the word sustainability. The thing about that is, in order to sustain anything, there has to be some repetition within what you're doing. It's like when you teach, you have your method of teaching that today we'll talk about it, tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about it, Wednesday we'll have a test on it, and next month we'll go over it a little bit again. And by the end of the semester, you should have it. And now when we're talking about times like that, it still applies because as opposed to like 1 week or 2 weeks, we're talking about a lifetime of getting people to understand what's going on. This COVID, we have a few problems with COVID that I don't know if this is the type of thing that was going on when there was a yellow fever thing, but we have different ideas about whether or not COVID is bad. Mm-hmm. And then we have Meg that said, well, we had like 2 million people that are dead, or well, hundreds of thousands of people that have died.
Yeah, over 1 million.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you have a president saying, okay, the pandemic is over. So then when you have people coming in, because where I am in the airport, I keep having to use things like this, sorry. People come through and say, well, since COVID is over, I no longer have to wear a mask. I don't have to wear a mask. And the problem is with me trying to rebuild the mask with my barbers, they're listening to the same thing. The news here, they've taken down all the signs at the airport saying, well, you don't have to have a mask, or not saying that you do have to have your mask. Mm-hmm. And but we still spray down the shop and we still talk about it. And we talk to the customers about it on occasion. And I do have a lot of flyers out. And but the thing about people is they have to have things happen more than once. One of my customers said to me, he said, this is the only place that you can go where you can get instant gratification and look better and feel better when you leave. Because if you go to the health club once,
it's gonna take you a little while. It's gonna take you a little while to start seeing something.
That doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna come out of there, after 5 pounds or something like that. So that's what he said. So you get that at the barber shop where people come in, they leave more confident, looking better, and going on with their life. So you try and drop in some of those things, saying, well, don't forget, when you go someplace else, take your mask, whether they ask for it or not, because the mask is not necessarily all the time for you. Sometimes it's for them, because we don't know what we have.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because like Mr. Goodwin was saying, he's been 2 years COVID free, and then all of a sudden, wherever he got it from, that's just the way it is. So you always have to be careful. And it's one of those things where you have to keep on doing what's considered to be the right thing in order to cut your chances down, get your vaccinations, go out and get your boosters. And me, I like to do things. I'm just an entrepreneur. I went to barbers after I had a little stint with fast food for 20 years or better. And so then I decided to come in, and I've done these barbershops for a little over 20 years now. And it's everything is a learning experience. We have to keep these things going.
Good.
And, like I said, I'm just an entrepreneur, but I like doing positive things. And I like putting positive things on people's mind. And sometimes I get a little carried away. I used to break into the mayor's meetings on occasion when I first started coming.
You're not breaking in on this is not a meeting. This is a talk show. This is a conversation. So it's all good, man. I love you, man. It's everything good. Let's go to Stacy. We got to go to Rejuvenate. Tell them a little bit about yourself, young lady. And she's been with us forever. And she's one of those Sixer fans. She's like
today, Eagles.
Eagles. But Eagles got, I got to give it to the Eagles. The Eagles looking good now. Hey, okay, so you Eagles and Sixers and whatever y'all got a lot of stuff going on out there. So go ahead. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Stacy. I'm the owner of Rejuvenate Salon and Spa Fitness and Sunny, the newest one, Sunny's Wellness Center, which I'm super excited. I have, it's about, I say over 30 seniors, over 65 plus. that I'm communicating with. We started a sharing class, which I've been in the fitness world and the hair world for 40 years. In January, it'll be 40 years. But I've decided to go into a wellness center for seniors, 65 plus. And it's been going amazing, but it's funny, I'm listening to you guys because everyone says, Stacy, it's time for us to get our next booster. I said, well, I'm the only place to give you a booster. Like they really want me to have another clinic so they can get their next booster. Yeah. I said, I have a doctor. And I mean, this was in, like, everybody is saying it. They live in a complex. And I'm like, oh, they're going to make me have another one.
Well, you really need those boosters. And that's, I don't know why we hadn't done more in boosting the booster conversation. Right. Because just getting the first shot is not enough. Even the second shot is not enough. And if you're over a certain age, you need to get 2 boosters, not just 1. You need to get 2. And so we need to, that's why we have to keep this conversation going, Stacy. That's
yes. So
critically important.
The seniors are really asking. I have a lot of seniors that's asking. So I have to go and find out from Walmart when they can give another shot so I can accommodate them for the booster. Yeah. So we're going to make something fun out of it. And that's where, more so people are just being excited about living and through these times. And I'm just here to serve these seniors, everybody 65 and older. I'm here to serve them, help them live longer. And that's what Rejuvenate is about. And that's what we've been doing.
Absolutely.
So that's it. Go
we love you. And because of you, I'm going to root for the Eagles, when they not playing my high school, when they not playing my high school team. Okay. I'm just kidding. Hey, Sandra Jenkins, I'm gonna bring you up. You're gonna be my co-host. You got any questions, anything you want to add to it since you hanging out with me, Dr. T gone? And
oh my, oh yes, Mayor Neal, this is quite a conversation, as Andre was expressing. We have our work cut out for us. However, I think that we're all on the same wavelength when it comes down to really understanding the importance of sustainability and how it impacts, our entire nation. So that is very, very critical. And to be able to, fight through those times of struggle when you have, those who are resistant, as Mike was expressing. Yeah. Those times are those times that can be very challenging, but also very rewarding at the same time. Just to touch and go on this a little bit, we're having our 4th vaccine clinic, and this will be on.
Hold up, you're saying 1, 2, 3, 4?
There you go. Give it up.
Wow. Yes. Go ahead, young lady. Go ahead. 4.
And, Mike, as Mike was saying, that time when you're going through that struggle and that resistance, boy, oh boy, did I handle that here. We are now recognized as the wellness warriors of Montgomery County. Montgomery County knows who we are. They have acknowledged us, on a local level in Philadelphia and in Montgomery County. So the Montgomery County Immunization Coalition, who we're in partnership with, has been working very diligently with us, along with other organizations such as the NAACP and like ACLAMO, which is Latina organization. And, it's just really wonderful. Wow. So on Monday, we will be conducting our 4th vaccine clinic with Rite Aid. And Rite Aid is so, my goodness, they're wonderful working with Rite Aid. They have taken on an initiative to do the advertising in their store. So it's really helping us leverage those who are signing up and who will be there showing up, getting their flu shot, their pneumonia shot, their booster shot, their shingles, and all of those will be available to those that will be coming on Monday. So
thank you so much.
This is really great.
Hey, Dr. T, welcome home.
Well, I am telling you, the audience was full. I told our story, the origin story of hair, the wellness warriors out there. The place was just electric because
Right.
people need hope. They really
Right.
do need hope. And when
Yeah.
I saw the word cloud, someone sent me a picture.
Yeah.
I am telling you, every single time, Mayor.
It hadn't been up yet, so I didn't want to do the web.
Oh.
I didn't want to do that until you
Oh.
got here. Now you
You
go
better
let
put
the
that
cat
word
out of the
on my
bag, right? Put. Now, do you see what's up there
Look at
first?
this.
The
Woo!
largest word is what? Blessed.
Blessed.
Blessed by the best. Grateful. Resilient. Some people tired. They strong. Seniors looking forward. Children, God help, positive, inspired, optimistic, endurance, democracy, hopeful, reflective, gratitude, diversity, confident, empowered. Some people are angry, thankful, honored.
Look at that.
It's just a plethora of things, and we all have emotions, and we find ourselves, all of us find ourselves at some space, but we end up back blessed.
Yes.
Knowing that no matter what's happened, is that every situation, every trial, every tribulation that you ever had, if you think about this, just think about it.
Right.
Think about the worst day that you ever had.
Okay.
You are 100% a conqueror over that happened.
Yep,
If
'cause
you're
you're
still here.
That's right.
Right? Regardless of what has happened in your life, you are 100% a conqueror over that.
There you go.
Because you're still here. So we got just 6 minutes. Can you believe that? 6 minutes and we got to call it a day. I want to go back. Thank you, Sandra Jenkins, for all you do. I mean, just for and Stacy and all of you and Andre, all of y'all just doing. Mike, man, y'all are doing incredible work.
Pine Bluffs
Trina,
in the house.
Dorothy, everybody is doing wonderful work, and I want y'all to understand that. David, thank you so much, man. I want you to kind of give us your thoughts about where do we go from here. The last admonishment Dr. King gave us, it was in a book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community?
That's right.
Right. I want you to capsulate that for us. And then Jasmine, I want you to think about what your last statement is to this esteemed audience.
Well, you learn something all the time and or make the connections that you forgot about. The last day of my brother's life, he drove down from Ohio with Schwerner and Cheney at a training session and ended up in Meridian, Mississippi. And the neighbor's family was called Sims, S-I-M-S. And Bernice Sims, who's a friend of mine and was 15 at the time, 17. And she wanted to go with my brother Sunday to investigate this church, which was about 50 miles away. And that's where they got murdered. And her mother said, no, you can't go. But it was a barbershop.
What?
Yeah. The Sims brothers, 3 of them were barbers. And they cut his hair, and he slept in their house, by the way, because you couldn't stay in a white motel or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was too dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And he was safe there, and it was a barbershop, and they cut his hair. And that was the last thing. And I did not appreciate until I got to know Bernice really well, who wrote a wonderful book called Detour at Midnight. You might want to read it. Detour at Midnight, about the community around barbershop.
Wow.
And it's a spirit. This is a spiritual moment for me, I got to tell you, because it's everything comes together in a good way. We're blessed. That's it. And we're lucky. We're lucky because not everybody's so lucky in many ways. But they were murdered on a Sunday. It took 24 hours for the United States to realize some tragedy had happened. And by Tuesday morning, which was June 23rd, 1964, my mother was in the Oval Office with President Johnson. And Johnson was pretty upset. And this is really a sad part of the story because 2 white kids were missing.
Okay, okay.
And Black people were killed and murdered all the time. And nothing ever happened. And no one heard about it, not in the Northeast anyway. And Johnson called the only person he knew well, which is Senator James Eastland, who's a real, pardon my French, SOB.
Yeah,
certifiable. You got to listen to this conversation, which is on the LBJ library tapes. He said, Eastland said, this whole thing they're missing down there, it's a hoax. They're not missing. No one would harm those boys. And I think about this word in the context of the virus hate. And I think of the words of the former president who said COVID was a hoax. So we have to work and sustain a movement to overcome, as Mr. Brown said, you got to stick at it.
Yeah.
Don't let the bad guys get you down. God bless you. And I love you all. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We've been to church. We've been to church.
We shown up in the church, in
the temple.
And I'm gonna come get you. If they get you for bootlegging, for preaching, I'm gonna come and get you. So it'll be all right. Jasmine Moore, thank you so much. Your last, give us 30 seconds. Your last words, and we're gonna call it a day.
All right. Just remember that drinking and drug driving is 100% preventable. And you guys should come out and support us on October 29th in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And just come out to have awareness, also support our victims and or their families, and just help us raise funds.
Absolutely. All right. You have a partner in us. I want you all to know that.
Get the word out in the barbershop.
Love you so much. Absolutely. Barbershop.
I didn't know you were in Atlanta.
Right. They're coming. That's a conference they're having in Atlanta. So that's one of the things that we need to do. All right, Dr. T, man, do you know it's time to rock and roll? This is it.
Oh man.
Man, it's been wonderful. Thank you all so much. Everybody, David Goodman, Jasmine Moore in her absence, Cheyenne Webb Christberg, our very own Sandra Jenkins, coming for hanging out with us for Dynamite Mike and Katrina and Stacy and Andre and Dorothy.
Awesome.
And our very own Dr. Sharon Cooper. I mean, we had a wonderful exchange today. This is about sustaining. How do you keep it going? How do you move past the tiredness and that kind of weariness and getting weary and well doing? How do you do that? And I think it's passion, I think it's commitment, and I think it's love.
Yeah.
When you put passion, commitment, and love together,
right,
then you have sustainability.
Hey, we're putting our mask on first. Here we go.
Absolutely. I thank you so much, Dr. T. Love you so much. To our team behind the scene, love you all so much. To each and every one of you who are listening to us and viewing us on different platforms, thank you so much for joining with us on The Cutting Edge. As always, I like to leave you with these two words. Remember that I love you with the perfect love. But more importantly, remember this: you got the power. Until the next Cutting Edge, we'll see you then. Take care of yourselves.
See you next time.